happy souls, welcome back to my channel. I've got another reading for you today. I'm so excited to be here. Welcome to all of my new subscribers. My name is Charlotte. So we are asking today, what does Spirit need you to know the most? This is the message you have been waiting for, happy twins. These are the messages that Spirit needs you to hear the most. In these readings, we're asking, what's going on in your situation? What aren't you seeing about it? What do you need to see to help you feel great again, to help you move forward for your own highest good and the highest good of whatever situation you are in right now? Obviously, my readings are specifically love focused for the most part. So hold in mind the situation you're asking about. Take a nice long deep breath. You might be thinking of a specific person, and that's fine. Just hold them in mind. And you can ask for a sign as well if you want. That can be anything, an object, an animal, a symbol, a place, a phrase, numbers, whatever works for you. That just helps to anchor the message and really offer you that validation that it was meant for you. These are my favourite kinds of readings to do. They create space for Spirit to tell us what we really need to know the most. And they have been the most popular readings on my channel recently. So I really hope you'll enjoy this one as well. I've got 3 lovely piles to choose from today, but before I begin, I just want to give a special shout out to a crystal seller I've just bought some stuff from, because you guys ask me all the time where I get my crystals, and honestly, most of the time I buy them from a local dealer that isn't online, so there's no one for me to kind of recommend to you. But I've just bought some new crystals from this seller. She's called Carpe Crystals, kind of like Carpe Diem. You can find her on Instagram. I'll put all the links down in the description box below. And I purchased from her these 2 beautiful black moonstone crescent moons and these 2 here as well, and I'm so very delighted with them. And from that order, I've also received this beautiful piece of serpentine, which I'm going to give away to you today. So to enter and be within a chance of winning this, just like and subscribe to this video and leave a comment down below saying I love Carpe Crystals, and then go over and follow Carpe Crystals and myself over on Instagram. You can find me at happysouls1111 and you can find Carpe Crystals at Carpe Crystals. So find us both on Instagram, give us a follow and leave a comment down below, and I will choose a winner next week, and whoever wins, I will send you this beautiful piece of serpentine. It feels so lovely in the hand. So yeah, just a nice little shout out there, keeping the light community moving. So let's look at our piles. In part 1, you've got the Considerate Cat Tarot with this lovely piece of agate. So if cat was your sign, maybe this is your pile, but this deck is full of cats, so it might be a bit too obvious if you have asked for a cat. This is the Anima Mundi Tarot and a beautiful piece of King Cobra Jasper. Again, another piece that I purchased from Carpe Crystals. Very, very happy with it. And in pile number 3, we've got the Oak Ash Thorn deck. This is a beautiful independently created deck. I'm excited to use it again on my channel. And this is a beautiful piece of Bumblebee Jasper. So take your time choosing a pile. There is no right or wrong way. You just see which one you're drawn to, see which crystal you're drawn to. I personally like to find the timestamps and choose from there. And you can find the timestamps in the description box, and that will take you straight to your pile. So take your time choosing, pause the video if you need to, and I will see you at your pile. Lots of love. Hello, pile 1. Welcome to your reading. You have chosen the Considerate Cat Tarot and this lovely piece of agate, and we are asking, what do you need to know the most today? This is the sign you've been asking for, the answers you've been asking for. These are the messages from Spirit that you need to know the most. And, you know, try and leave your question open-ended. We don't want to restrict the messages that come through. The best thing about these readings is that we create space for Spirit to deliver the messages that you didn't even know you needed. You know, the messages you needed the most. And we're going to use a ton of oracle cards, a ton of charms. There will be an extended reading today. If you skipped the intro, there is a giveaway today. I'm giving away this beautiful piece of serpentine. If you would like to enter and be within a chance of winning, and it will be Reiki charged by me before I send it out, make sure you check out the intro to find out how to do that. And let's choose some cards for you. I love this deck. If cat was your sign that you asked for, it might be a bit too obvious for this pile because this deck is just full of cats, but if cat's your usual sign, maybe that's why you chose this pile. And we will pull some oracle cards anyway. Okay, that turned over, so we'll keep that. That's the Page of Wands in reverse, the King of Cups, the Page of Pentacles in reverse, and the Hanged Man in reverse. And clarifying, we've got the Eight of Wands, the Two of Pentacles, the Seven of Swords in reverse, and the Two of Swords in reverse. Let's get some oracle cards out as well. So this is the Under the Roses Lenormand deck, and we have got the Rider, the Fox, the Lilies, and the Clouds. And from, well, the messages from your spirit animals oracle. All the decks I use are listed in the description box below. We've got the Manatee, the Gorilla, and from the Magical Herb oracle, we've got Clarity and Awakening. And we will get some more as we go, but I think I can fit a couple more. So we're going to use these Heal Yourself oracle cards. We've got Sadness and Cycles. So let's do this pile one. What do you need to know the most? What are the messages from Spirit, the answers that you really needed? Honestly, my first thought here, pile one, is that you're not being entirely honest with yourself about your role in this situation. There's a great energy of indignance here, incredulousness even. You know, you're very frustrated by your person. You're very frustrated by their behaviours, like the sun's coming out for you to illuminate the truth here. And there's a lot of conflict going on. And I feel that this has caused a separation between you. And you're very much sitting in the energy of, well, you know, this person doesn't know how to conduct themselves. They don't know how to behave, and they have really hurt me. And I'm not suggesting that they haven't. But the message here is that you need to look at both sides of the equation and understand that they each contribute to the bit in the middle. And that both of you have actually come at this situation with very unbalanced energies. Now, at the root of this, you both care a great deal. Your person does love you. We've got the King of Cups here. And this is such a deeply affectionate and caring energy, but it's also very reserved when it comes to expressing or communicating that. And both of you wanted to resolve and change this situation for the better, but you just couldn't meet one another on the bridge and find a resolution that works for both of you. Now, the two cards that have come up in reverse up here and the Hanged Man also, they're both pages, and pages are about communication, they're about messages. And so when the pages come up in reverse, they show us a blocked energy in this respect. And pages are also quite an immature energy. You know, they don't necessarily have all the knowledge and information they need to inform the conversation accurately. And so these two coming up suggest to me that both of you are looking at the situation through the lens of your childhood pain, you know, and it's not entirely accurate. It's not that you're deliberately misunderstanding one another, and it's certainly not the case that you don't care, but because of the way each of you was, you know, raised, the way you communicate is not conducive to resolution and compromise. You know, there's a lot of blame, there's a lot of finger pointing, there's a lot of anger. And so Spirit's asking you to shift your perspective. Again, when the Hanged Man comes up in reverse, you know, it shows us that you're not seeing things from all angles. This is an interesting Hangman card because we see this cat here, you know, clinging to the top of the tree. Now, from here, they have a much higher perspective. You know, they can see all around and they can see clearly what's going on. So again, with this energy being blocked, your perspective is limited, you know, and your inability to see the broader picture, the broader spectrum here, is inhibiting you from finding the resolution you want. Because as I said, both of you want this to work. There is real love and affection here. But this is Scorpio energy. You know, this is two people that really struggle to express themselves authentically. They keep everything close to their chest because they don't want to be too vulnerable. You know, they don't want to put all their cards on the table because that feels like a tremendous risk. So, you know, whatever this conflict was, you're being asked to reflect on it and to let go of resentment and bitterness and anger, to recognize that those energies do not support a resolution. And even though it's understandable and natural to be angry when someone's hurt you, sometimes we have to you know, be introspective enough to recognize when the anger isn't just connected to the situation that's being presented, but that it's actually triggering a deeper wound inside of us that is then feeding into the situation. And this is what I'm seeing with these distorted inner child energies here with two of these pages. Both of you grew up with a fairly challenging dynamic from your caregivers and in the home. And, you know, that conditions us. It teaches us how to respond to our world, how to communicate, how to resolve conflict. And if we weren't taught in a healthy, balanced way, then, you know, we take all of that conditioning and all of that learning into our adult relationships. And that's what we see happening here. So Spirit's, you know, asking you to consider that. It's not about blaming yourself or beating yourself up. There is no blame here. There's only compassion and understanding, and that's the energy that Spirit's encouraging you to move into, to try and let go of all of the beef, even though it rattles your bones, and to try and elevate yourself above it so that you can see more clearly, because it's from there that you're more likely to get what you want and to resolve this situation in a way that's good for you. I'm being asked as well to remind you that you can only be responsible for your share, and that sometimes, no matter how lovingly we show up with a person, they simply cannot meet us on that bridge. They can only meet us as far as they have met themselves. So they're asking you to bear in mind as well that when we communicate from a place of authenticity and, you know, work towards adopting this higher perspective, that we have to bear in mind that it's, you know, we should communicate this way because it's the right way, the loving, compassionate way, and not just because we have an agenda. It's very frustrating when someone can't understand what you're saying and can't move into the same loving, balanced and compassionate energy that you can. But that's okay, because at least in those circumstances, you know that you've done your part, that you've showed up in the most loving, compassionate and clear energy that you can, without judgment, and, you know, with the goal in mind of just creating, you know, more space for authenticity. If you create space to show up authentically and to communicate from the heart, you're essentially giving the other person permission to do the same. You know, you're taking down the barriers, removing that confrontational or inflammatory approach that you may have had before, and replacing it with one that says, I'm here, I'm listening, I'm not pointing fingers or trying to punish you. I'm here because I want us to work this out and I care. It's very hard to do that with some people. And as I said, I feel like in your background, you know, you have family members, perhaps friends and previous relationships as well, where you've tried that approach again and again and again. And when you come up against that resistance and people just refusing, as I said, to meet you on that bridge, it brings up all of that rage and resentment, and you end up being triggered and actually mirroring the patterns that they're demonstrating. You know, you end up losing that empathic, beautiful, compassionate focus that you're so capable of, and reverting once more to the same behaviors that frustrate you so much. Your power here is in recognizing your ability to just be accountable for yourself, and to accept that not everyone is grown enough to see your very much wider and healthier perspective. But you do have the capacity to get in this energy yourself. And from there, Pile 1, you have the opportunity to find more peace. Because even though it's really challenging when someone doesn't agree with us, who can't or won't see what we're trying to explain, it's at least satisfying to know I did my best. I showed up with love and integrity, and this person just isn't in that place to be able to have that conversation with me, and that's okay. It's not a reflection of who I am. It's a reflection of who they are and where they are at in their stage of the journey, and that's okay. We mustn't judge one another. We're all learning at different paces, including your person. And so there's a need to forgive yourself and to forgive them for doing what you learned, and for showing up in a way that you were capable of. There's no shame or blame here. It's just about recognizing how we do have to be accountable for our own part, that we can't keep using the excuse, well, they're a horrible prick and they're doing this and they're doing that, so my fury is justified, my aggression is justified, the conflict is justified. You always get to choose if you want to engage a conflict or not. It takes two people to have a war. Yeah, if you stand calm and still and you surrender to it, obviously you have to protect yourself, and that sometimes means stepping back rather than stepping forward into conflict. Sometimes it's not safe to stand still and just take whatever's coming at us, but we can walk away. And this is what I think the rider is saying here. And this is 9 of Cups energy. And 9 of Cups energy is all about self-fulfillment. It's about finding our own emotional balance and not relying on others to help us feel good. And this is something you struggle with. Oh, I had such a bad day. My boss was horrible and now I feel like crap. My parents were rude to me and unsupportive and now I feel neglected. It's easy to blame everyone in our environment for how we feel, but your power, your strength is in the ability to learn to recognize that actually I can give myself the love I need, and that liberates everyone else from that obligation or expectation. And in doing that, I can then just accept them as they are, recognize that they're not able to give me what I need, and that's okay because I can give it to myself, and that's real balance. Now, we've got 2 cards here that, for me, connect to control and strategy. The gorilla, which is that very dominant alpha male energy, and we've got the fox, which is all about strategy. And so both of you do come into these conversations with an agenda. You're showing up and you're trying to win. You're trying to be right. And you're trying to stay in control. Now, it doesn't mean that this is, a deliberate or coercive attempt to be in control. These are all behaviors that each of you are acting out unwittingly based on what you've learned. Again, no shame, no judgment, no blame. But listen to what the gorilla says. Take the time to listen compassionately to those you love, especially your family members. So definitely there's a situation that's very close to home for you, and you're being asked to recognize that their failings doesn't have to disturb your peace of mind. You can only show up and do your best. And when you can hold your hand on your heart and say, I know I did that. I showed up with love, with integrity, dignity and compassion. They still couldn't receive what I said because they're not ready, and that's okay. But again, the manate, accept the situation as it is rather than fighting to change it. There's a big message here that you have to recognize we can't change people. You're watching this reading, my reading specifically, because you're interested in growing. You're interested in improving your standard of life. You're interested in improving how you interact with other people. You're interested in improving how you have relationships. You want to become healthy. You want to reflect on who you are. And that's beautiful, but not everyone is there. Not everyone finds their way here at the same time, and that's okay. There was a time when you probably couldn't have received this information. Maybe you're finding it really triggering now that I'm bringing these things up to you. And that really demonstrates how hard it is for us when we're not able to see things, how frustrating it can be, when when we're not seeing it and someone's saying, well, you know, you kind of need to look at yourself here. It's not easy to look at ourselves. Your ability to look at yourself really does demonstrate how ascended you are and how ready you are to heal and become your best self. But not everyone is in that place, and that's okay. You know, we're all on our own path. We're all learning the lessons we need to learn at our own pace. There's no right or wrong. There's no judgment. Now, this is a cycle that I feel has repeated itself for you many, many times over, not just in this connection, not just in your family unit, but probably in many other aspects and situations of your life as well. And generally, when a cycle keeps repeating, it's because there's a lesson that's being presented to us and we're not learning it. And it will keep showing up until we learn that lesson. So, you know, I often hear people say, oh God, I always pick the wrong men. Logically speaking, that's because you haven't yet discovered what the right man and a healthy relationship looks like. And so you're going to keep having these experiences until you learn that lesson. So, you know, you've got to take responsibility for what's happening in your life, even though it's tough and these people bring this drama to our table. You know, we have to learn that when what's being served isn't healthy, we have to learn to step away from the table. That's your responsibility to yourself. Or we have to learn to bring something to the table that will help to dissipate the conflict and drive positive change. That's the power that you have right now. This is the power you're being drawn to because you are waking up. You know, you are coming into awareness of who you really are. This is golden seal here. And the herb hit for clarity is bilberry. You know, you're being asked to develop this clarity. You have access to it because you are bold enough, brave enough to self-reflect. You're able to look at your own shadows. And that's a beautiful thing. You know, it takes a great deal of strength to face ourselves. I do feel that things are going to move quite quickly for you once you make these adjustments and start looking at things from this healthier perspective. In this card, it's quite different to the traditional 8 of Wands. We see 3 cats charging up a hill. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's 8 trees here as well. Remember, 8 is the number of infinity. It's also representative of cycles. And we see these 3 cats, 3 being the number of the Empress, divine feminine energy, charging up the hill, ascending. Even though there's clouds in the background, the water is more still and they are empowered to grow, to ascend. We see this beautiful change occurring as well with the 2 of Pentacles. You know, this is all about balance and harmony, but we have to shake things up to restore balance. You know, to figure out where the imbalances are, we have to dig deep into it and move things around to get some real perspective on what actually needs to be adjusted. And I do see you moving into this energy. Again, we've got the 7 of Swords in reverse, releasing strategy, releasing control, showing up in a more authentic way. The bit that's really interesting here is the 2 of Swords in reverse, clarifying the Hanged Man. And what this communicates to me is that you're not sure how to make this happen. You're not sure how to develop this higher perspective. You're not sure how to bring yourself to more awareness. You're open to all of these suggestions, but you're thinking, I don't know how to be in this energy and do this. Honestly, you need to start with meditation. When we meditate, and it can be so easy, 2 minutes here, 2 minutes there, what we're actually doing is making our minds full. When our brains move into a meditative state, and neuroscience evidences this, when it moves into that meditative state, rather than just being focused on your prefrontal cortex or the logical, rational part of your mind expands to encompass the subconscious and your higher mind also. And this is why we call it mindfulness. You know, when you're in this normal state, your mind is less, you're mindless. So the key to receiving this higher perspective is to give yourself time to reflect on what's going on in your life from that mindful perspective. Now, if you're interested in the neuroscience of this, how it works, I would recommend you check out Dr. Joe Dispenza. He's got a series called Rewired. He's got some fabulous books if you prefer reading. It's very accessible. Even though he's a neuroscientist, he describes it in layman's terms. learning how to meditate was life-changing for me. I know a lot of you watch my channel and you think, oh my God, Charlotte's so wise. I'm really not. What's happening when I'm reading is that my mind is full and I'm drawing information from, you know, higher sources, not just from my own small, logical, rational mind. You know, I'm expanding my mind to draw down more information. We all can do that. We all have access to that. And this is where you need to place your attention. You can do this, pile one. I understand how sad you feel. And we've got the lilies here, which are also a symbol of sympathy and remorse. We've got the clouds as well. You know, the clouds came up in this Eight of Wands, you know, really demonstrating that lack of clarity. And this is also a number 6. You know, this is about love. You know, 6 is the number of the Lovers card, the number of unconditional love. And in the lilies, it's number 30, which reduces to 3, that divine feminine energy. This really demonstrates that kind of woe is me energy that you tend to dwell in. All of those negative conversations you have with yourself that fuel the fire, that fuels the anger and the resentment that's in you. This person's so cruel to me, it's not fair. You know, when you dwell in that energy of blame and judgment and frustration and woe is me, you keep yourself from positive resolution. You keep yourself stuck. Now, your person probably doesn't have the ability to recognize this right now in the way you do, but you can start creating productive change in this situation by showing up more grown yourself, and they will be inspired by your example. You know, as I said, when we start behaving in different ways, we give whoever we're liaising with permission to behave in different ways. And I can tell you quite sincerely that that's been my experience. It doesn't mean that everybody that you know, when I show up in a different way, it doesn't mean that everybody that I interact with can, you know, take that opportunity to also be authentic and genuine. But some do. And the relationships in and around me have significantly improved as a result of my own higher perspective. You know, I talked about this in one of my readings this week. It's like being a tall sapling amongst oak trees. You know, you have this much broader perspective and you can see the truth of the situation. And usually the truth is that it's not personal. It's just people struggling with their own conditioned responses, you know, their own pain and their own dysfunction. Let's get some more cards out for you here. You're such a gentle soul. I can feel it. You know, I know you don't mean to show up in the way that you have been. You're just so very exhausted. So very tired, frustrated. You know, going around in circles is hard. You know, please give yourself some credit for showing up and being committed to your growth. As I said, the fact that you're even watching this reading and still with me, you know, demonstrates how ready you are, you know, to move yourself forward this way. Take off your masks. Pay attention to signs and sexuality. And I'm going to get some more animal cards as well. The messages from your animal spirit guides. We've got the penguin, the condor, and from the magical herb oracle also. We've got attraction and progress. And let's get some more Lenormand cards also. The lady, the ring, the sickle, and the bear. Little fish in his mouth. Okay. Authenticity has been a strong theme in the collective recently. I feel like we're all being challenged to step into authentic communication and interactions. This is a number 11 card, which really affirms this message. For those of you looking for signs, I feel really drawn to mention the ballerina shoes up here. And it says, take off your mask. Now, quite often we don't see that we're wearing masks. We don't see how our communication isn't as authentic as it could be. And so to get a feel for where, you know, you are not being as authentic as you could be, it's really wise to reflect on what you're not saying and why. More often than not, what we don't say is determined by the fear of the response we might receive. For example, if I tell this person I'm madly in love with them, they may reject me, and I don't want that to happen. It's a risk that I'm not prepared to take. And so that inhibits both of you from knowing the truth of the situation and from where you stand. Now, we're taught through the rules and the game and all of these 3D paradigms that surround relationships that we should treat them mean, keep them clean, play hard to get, don't put your cards on the table. You know, society has done nothing to perpetuate a healthier way of being. But when we show up in that way, we deprive both ourselves and the other party of the truth, and the truth that will actually set us free and help inform better decisions. How can we make choices about how we want to move forward when we don't know the truth of the situation or where we stand? How can we really know someone? And how can someone really know us when we don't express ourselves freely and truthfully? And we keep these things to our chest. Again, this is about control. And remember, it's not control because we're manipulative. It's control to protect ourselves. Yeah, it's born of a desire to stay safe. So it's an understandable thing. Again, I'm not judging you, but you've got to be honest with yourself about how you're still wearing a mask, and that you command and desperately want honesty from this person. But are you prepared to show up in an honest way yourself? Pay attention to the signs. You know, for me, and there's a little owl here that might have been a sign some of you asked for. There's also the Jesus cross up here on this kind of little mini chapel. You know, when it comes to signs, this is also connected to the energy of cycles. You know, the analogy I used of, often people will say, oh God, I keep getting into every relationship I have ends up being toxic, I end up being betrayed or deceived or dumped. And it's because you're not seeing the signs. You're not seeing what a healthy relationship or an unhealthy relationship really looks like. And so you're not able to discern between the two. You know, you really need to take some time educating yourself. When we grow up in a dysfunctional environment, we have to be accountable for ourselves. We have to be big enough to say, okay, maybe I learned this upside down and back to front and I've got it a bit wrong. And it would serve me to do some research and to educate myself in how I can handle such situations differently. Because a lot of the signs I'm hearing are glaringly obvious. There's definitely a lack of boundaries here for you. And the sexuality card coming up is really interesting, you know, and this is where the control comes in. You know, you're aware that your sexuality is a tool to help you get what you want by being flirtatious, you know, by teasing and encouraging someone to come towards you, that you can use this as a tool to get what you want. And I'm hearing this is what gives you confidence and power, but it's not real confidence and power. You know, it's not balanced and it's not authentic. So you've got to be real with yourself. How are you being tempting and teasing to try and lure that person in your direction and keep them engaged? And this might be being tempting and teasing with others to make them jealous. You know, look at what you're missing, rather than saying, I miss you, do you want to talk? You know, and again, this is how we were taught. This is how most of us were taught, especially women. We all read the rules. We all read, you know, Men Who Love Bitches and The Game and Neil Strauss and all of those, you know, very distorted, manipulative games, the 3D paradigm. This is exactly what you are being called to break, to introduce into the world a new way of loving, unconditionally loving with authenticity. This is our role as light bringers and light workers. You know, this is what we're here to do, you know, to communicate integrity and real love. The attraction card, and this is also a number 4, and the herb here is parsley, and we see this magnet. You know, there is a great deal of magnetism in this connection. It's not just sexual. It's just that both of you only feel comfortable communicating the sexual magnetism. You both feel safe with that, you know, because you don't have to reveal feelings which put you at risk. And so it feels like the sexual nature of your connection is where you both, you know, really communicate your affection and desire for one another. You've got to trust in the progress of this connection. This is elecampane. It looks like a dandelion to me, but actually the leaves are different. I'm not familiar with this herb, but it may be significant to you. But you know, you've got to trust in your progress. Again, there's a ladder illustrated here, a symbol of ascension, of climbing up the ladder, of moving upwards, of making that progress. You know, you are on the right path, and you do have the power to make this better. The penguin. The period of darkness that you've been experiencing now is passing. Trust that this cycle that you're currently in is about to close out. And when a new cycle begins, you have an opportunity to do it differently, to change the dynamic and the pattern. And this is what you're being called to do. And again, the condor here, which is a symbol of, once more, higher perspective, seeing things from a greater perspective. You're too enmeshed in this situation. Step back and see the bigger picture before making any decisions or taking action. And what I'm hearing about you, Pile 1, is that in these situations when the conflict starts to brew and it builds and it builds and it builds, you end up saying and doing things and making decisions that are born of frustration and anger rather than what you really want. And in that respect, you cut off your nose to spite your face, you know, because you've pushed this person away. You've pushed them away because for sure they didn't behave well and they weren't meeting your expectations. But really what you wanted to do was fix this. You didn't want to lose them or push them away, but it was your frustration and fury that drove you towards doing that. And this is why, again, step back, look at the bigger picture, step into mindfulness before making any decisions. You are for sure a divine feminine power in this situation. You've got the Ace of Swords here with the lady, and the Ace of Swords is the energy of truth. It's the energy of stepping into awareness, you know, and this is what you're being asked to do. We've also got the ring, you know, and this really reassures me. The Ace of Clubs is the Ace of Wands, that behind all of that passion and sexual chemistry, there is real love and a desire for commitment. But both of you are currently too afraid to find your way there in a healthy way. The obstacles that are blocking you aren't as literal as you would think. You know, don't labour under the illusion that it's because of everything that's going on around you or other people. It's how each of you is showing up for one another and your ability to communicate that is actually creating the blockage here. The sickle. You know, again, we've got the black rose here. You have an opportunity to cut the darkness from this situation and to change the cycle and start over. And the bear. You know, the 10 of clubs. This is the 10 of pentacles. This is about union. The 10 of pentacles is union energy. And again, this is 15, which reduces to number 6, the lover's energy. However, 15 is the energy of the devil in tarot. The devil is the representation of distorted love. It still reduces to 6. It's still born of love, but it's unhealthy, codependent, obsessive, distorted love. And the bear, you know, look, he's knee deep in the water. He's holding the fish. And you can see he kind of looks surrendered. He's making an offer, if anything. Look at my fish. So, you know, this is really about working together, you know, showing up in a still, powerful and gentle way so that you can promote the change you actually want rather than getting wrapped up in the same cycles and feeling really rotten about it. You know, you have the power to change this. So let's get some final guidance cards for you and some charms as well. And I also want to look about you know, what's coming next that you need to be prepared for. When I take this over to the extended, we're going to go deeper on thoughts and feelings and so forth to see what you're not seeing about that. But let's see what's coming that you need to be prepared for and what the overall guidance is for you. We've got the Fool. That's beautiful. That's a new beginning. The 5 of Pentacles, transformation. We've got Strength in reverse. And the Page of Swords, and it's upright this time. Okay, so again, that's progress. Remember, the other 2 pages came up in reverse. Okay, that wanted to come out. 2 there. We've got the Emperor in reverse and the 5 of Wands in reverse. The 9 of Cups in reverse and the Ace of Cups. And from the charms, see what we've got. We get a lot of the same charms out lately. the aeroplane, P.S. I love you, dusk until dawn, the rose-tinted glasses, the shell, the bicycle, the spider web, the rainbow, sad songs, and fake news. Okay, so what's coming that you need to be prepared for? As I said, the Fool is a brand new beginning. This cycle is coming to a close. There's an opportunity to start over in a fresh way, but you need to process the rejection you feel in an independent, autonomous way. You need to take responsibility for it. The pain you feel is not because this person's rejected you. The pain you feel is born of a deep-rooted rejection wound that was already there. This person's just poking it. If you valued yourself, if you had a strong sense of self-worth and you loved yourself, you wouldn't be so susceptible to being hurt by the rejection of others. You know, you would recognize that it's not personal, and your attitude would be, well, I like me. If they don't, that's okay. You know, you wouldn't be as triggered by it. So it's really important to recognize that you've got to start working through and taking responsibility for the rejection wound. It's clarified by the Five of Wands as guidance. You know, this is what you're being challenged to do. Your person is divinely guided to keep triggering you. That's how these spiritual connections work. You know, we're asking each other to grow, not consciously. You know, this is all a divinely guided higher power. But the Five of Wands in reverse is about releasing the game. This isn't a competition. It's not about winning. It's about being real. And so you've really got to work through that. The rose-tinted glasses are off. You know, even though you're madly in love with this person, you're realizing it's not all a bed of roses. It's challenging. You know, when you actually come together, as much as you care and love them, so care about and love them, you know, it's not easy. It's not the romantic, happy ever after you dreamed of, but relationships are never like that. You know, we have to look at the situation in its reality and be real about it. But what's really beautiful here is these energies. Now, someone very helpfully pointed out last time this charm came up, a viewer commented and said, this is actually the logo for Photoshop. So for some of you, that could be a sign, you know, that there's creativity there. Perhaps you're illustrators or design creatives. That could be a beautiful sign. Maybe even the initials mean something. But this person does care. And remember that film, P.S. I Love You? You know, that's about an eternal, beautiful bond. And one person in that story isn't aware. One person's forgotten. They haven't woken up. They've gone back to sleep. Yeah, it's a really moving story. So this person loves you, but they are not awake. They don't have access to the same depths and information that you do, but they do think about you day and night. You know, you are always on their mind. When strength comes up in reverse, and bearing in mind we're looking at what's coming for you, this is an indication that you may feel less than brave in approaching the situation, and that's okay. You know, Spirit's asking you to show up in the way you can. They're saying, even if you start, you know, remember the Page of Wands is the young energy. It's the very beginning. And look how beautifully it's demonstrated here. This little cat and this little mouse actually having a chat. And the sword is a representation of truth. Now, again, the page is a young, youthful energy. It's the beginning energy. It's someone that's just learning to be truthful. And they're saying, don't worry about how scary it is. Just start where you are. Make that start, you know, and trust that you're going to progress. You're going to ascend. You're going to keep going. It's going to be okay. We do have the Emperor here. This is divine masculine energy again coming up, and you know, it's coming up under the Fool as guidance, and this is asking you to take control of the parts that you can, and that's you, to be responsible for creating a stable foundation for yourself on which you can start improving this situation. That's how you restore balance. When strength comes up in reverse, clarified by the Nine of Cups in reverse, this reminds you where your lack of strength roots from. It's because you don't have this strong sense of self. You haven't learned to love yourself yet and give yourself the love you need. And so changing these cycles is a bit more challenging from this place. But what it is reminding you in every step of this reading is that you're growing and that you're learning to turn that energy upright. We've got the Ace of Cups here as overall guidance, clarifying this Page of Swords. And that this is about self-love. One love, all the love you need is in you. When you meditate, you can draw down from that universal source of love. And I promise you, it feels amazing, liberating. For me, it was life-changing to find I could tap into that love inside of me. It relieved all of those people close to me of having to give me that love. And that allowed me to love them without an agenda. Because previously, those relationships hadn't just been about me loving unconditionally. They'd been about me getting back what I needed. I'm giving you love because I need some back, because I'm empty. And that cycle never works. It never fills us up, because someone else can never give us all of the love we need. And if we're having to give some back, it's, you know, we're never really filling the tank. We have to learn to love ourselves. The aeroplane. This is asking you to travel into the past. Regression therapy will be useful to you to help you uncover the deeper rejection and abandonment wounds that are triggering all of this sadness. I'll put a link to the lady I go to in the description box below. Regression therapy has been one of the most impactful modalities for me. I still go probably 4 or 5 times a year. You know, remember, healing is never done. There's always something else. Your person hasn't come out of their shell yet. It doesn't mean that you can't. And to keep the faith. You know, the rainbow is a beautiful symbol of hope and optimism. It reminds us that there is a pot of gold at the end if we can just stay faithful and keep following our true north. Sad songs, and I'm seeing this blue teardrop. You know, your person, and probably you as well, do find truth and relatability in the songs you're sharing and listening to. And certainly the songs you're sharing, you need to pay attention. The web reminds you that, you know, just because you feel stuck right now doesn't mean that you can't move beyond this. I know that you feel trapped and it feels challenging, but there's a lot of fake information rolling around in your head, a lot of preconceived ideas and very limiting beliefs that aren't true. What are the stories you're telling yourself that are inhibiting you from being real and authentic and your best self? You know, we might say things to ourselves like, you know, that person doesn't care about me, they're hateful and horrible. I'm never going to have a perfect relationship because I just don't know how to make that happen. You know, when you have this negative inner dialogue that makes you think things are impossible, you keep yourself stuck. So you're being asked to, again, take responsibility for that cycle. This is showing you where you have the power to transform your perspective and therefore transform what's happening. I really hope this was helpful for you, Part 1. I'm going to take it over to the extending now. Again, we're going to go deeper into the energies there. We're looking at thoughts and feelings as well. We're going to bring forward messages from your higher self also. So if you would like to join me there, the link for that is in the description box below. But thank you for joining me here. Please do hit the like button if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you'd like to see me again, then we can be friends. And just a big, huge thank you to all of those of you that actually subscribe, leave comments, and especially to those of you that watch my commercials. That really genuinely does help to keep my channel ticking over, and it helps it to grow. So thank you so much for your generosity, and to the very kind souls also that send me donations and decks. If you would like to exchange any energy that way, you can find all the information on how to do that in the description box below. But thank you for being here for me, and I will see you next time. Lots of love. Bye. Hello, Part 2. Welcome to your reading. You have chosen the Anima Mundi Tarot and this piece of King Cobra Jasper. This was a purchase from Carpe Crystals. There is a giveaway for that crystal seller today, so make sure you check out the intro if you missed it, if you want to be in with a chance of winning this beautiful piece of serpentine, Reiki charged and sent to you directly by me. So if you want to join in on the giveaway, make sure you check out the intro for instructions. But let's get started with your reading, Part 2. We are asking today, what do you need to know the most? These are the answers you've been searching for, the signs you've been asking for. And by all means, ask for a sign specifically. It could be anything you want, an animal, a place, an object, a symbol, phrase or numbers, whatever works for you. It just helps to reassure you that these messages were meant for you. And these readings are so important because they create space for Spirit to deliver the message you need the most, the message you didn't even know you needed in some cases, the messages that help you grow and help you move into a healthier, happier state of being. So we're going to use oracle cards and charms as well. But let's get started with the deck you've chosen. This is a beautiful deck. All the decks I'm using today are independently created and published. They're always my favourite kinds of decks, because I just find that unbelievably they're the best quality. You know, these big corporates really do cut corners on quality, and these independently artist created decks are always so beautiful. You can always find a list of what I'm using in the description box below if you're interested in purchasing them. But I do love this one. It's really, really beautiful. Okay, let's have a look. What do you need to know? Pile 2. There will be an extended reading today as well, if this resonates for you. We've got the High Priestess, the Page of Wands, the Nine of Swords, the World in reverse, and the King of Swords in reverse. The Ten of Wands, the Two of Swords in reverse, the Four of Wands, the Queen of Pentacles, and the Five of Pentacles. Wow. Such high vibrational energy here, I have to say. It's actually making me a bit emotional. What beautiful light you have, pile 2. We've got sadness, that also came out in pile 1, and self-sabotage. That's the Heal Yourself deck. Again, all the decks I use are listed below. From the Magical Herb Oracle, we've got Protection and Enthusiasm. From the Under the Roses Lenormand, we've got the Crossroads, the Bear. These also came up in pile 1. So interesting how that works. And the Lilies, and that one. So very cool. Okay. Lots of collective messages coming through today. When the similar cards come up. Panda and Condor. This also came up for pile 1. Okay. Let's see where we are here. What do you need to know the most? Pile 2. So as I said, very high vibrational energy here. This definitely feels like a twin flame connection, the energies that are coming through. And I'm hearing that this has been very, very challenging for you. And yet despite that, you are rising. You are rising so beautifully. As I said, very tingly, high vibrational light here. It's just beautiful energy. And you needed to hear that, because I feel like your light isn't always appreciated by the people that matter the most. You're not always seen and heard. And, you know, you're so very proud of yourself. You recognize your own growth and ascension. But sometimes it helps to be validated by someone else. Sometimes we need that little pat on the back to say, do you know what, you're doing great. And you're such a gentle soul. I really feel that. So I just want you to know that, you know, you're doing great. And that you are seen and that you are heard. There's so much sadness here though. I keep being drawn back to this Nine of Swords. And again, this sadness card. And as I said, this situation has been challenging for you. Even though you faced it with grace and you're trying your very hardest, it just seems like a never-ending cycle of pain. And I'm hearing, you know, how long do I have to heal for? When will this get better? And so Spirit is here to reassure you that you are on the right track. What's really beautiful about this is that you are embracing this journey with everything you have. We've got the High Priestess here clarified by the Ten of Wands. This is someone who's really taking their spirituality seriously. They're doing everything they can to reach out into the light, to draw down that wisdom and the guidance and to ascend. You know, they are recognizing that they need to be accountable for their own feelings. So this is really beautiful energy. You may be at the beginning of your journey, and there may still be, well, certainly at the beginning of your healing and ascension and spiritual journey, not necessarily the twin flame journey. I feel like it's been in recent times that you've realized, okay, this journey is more than romance. I actually have a job to do for myself here. I've got to step into self-love and step into my own power. And so this Page of Wands reveals, you know, your stage of that journey, that beginning stage. And with the Two of Swords in reverse clarifying this, it shows us how confused and conflicted and indecisive you are about how to move forward. And so I feel like a lot of the messages that are coming through for you here are actually drawing to your attention the power you actually hold and how you can best direct it. Because you do have a tendency with this Nine of Swords energy to get bogged down with anxious and depressive thoughts. You know, this sadness here, clarified by this self-sabotage energy, really demonstrates that in many respects you are your own worst enemy in this situation. And this is because the thoughts that roll around in your head day to day are not supportive of self-love or productive change. You have a very limiting idea about who you can be. You don't recognize your own value. You're already a very bright, light, compassionate, loving person. You know, the shadow that's in you is actually quite toned down compared to what we would find in others. But nonetheless, you just seem to drown in it. You know, you find it very difficult to forgive yourself and give yourself the love and kindness that you so willingly extend to others. And so I feel like you already had quite a fragile self-esteem, and it's been really challenging for you to reflect on the messages like this that say, you know, you need to try harder, or you need to look at this, or you need to take responsibility. You've been very sensitive to kind of any perceived criticism, but you know, you've kind of found your way through that and recognized the need for that radical self-reflection and honesty, but it doesn't make it any the less difficult for you, because it just triggers your already fragile sense of self. And so, you know, the message here is that Spirit is incredibly proud of you for facing it. It's recognizing and needs you to understand that it recognizes your effort, and there is such a great deal of effort, drive, enthusiasm here as well. I want to show you this self-sabotage card because it's such an interesting image. What we see here is the owl and the moon in the background. The owl, of course, represents wisdom. The moon represents intuition. And yet it's all obscured by this heavy cloud. And this lady, she's holding a light, but it's been snuffed out by the presence of these shadow aspects, those dark part of ourselves that keep beating us up. You're not enough. You're not attractive enough. You're not good enough. You're not successful enough. You're not lovable enough. No one likes you. You know, all of these really painful thoughts that keep rolling around in your head and tripping you up in your attempts to move towards self-love. There's a great deal of bullying in your past. You know, you've never really felt like you fit in. And of course, this journey calls you to recognize that you don't need to fit in, that the only approval that matters is to approve of yourself. But after being, you know, the victim of so many harsh and unkind circumstances, it's very hard for you to release all of those ugly words that you've heard about yourself in the past that now just kind of seem to swing around your head in a loop. The world in reverse is coming up to remind you that this is an eternal connection that you're experiencing. And even though it seems really impossible right now, it really isn't over. The Queen of Pentacles is such a beautiful, nurturing and affectionate energy here. It's all about fertility, creation, abundance and divine feminine power. And that's expressed in the 3D, that's grounded. And this is something you already had in spades. You just are inhibited from expressing it and fully stepping into this power by your own thoughts and your own, you know, ideas about not being good enough. With the King of Swords in reverse as well, this also calls you to recognize that you're not entirely seeing the full truth of this situation. It's clarified by the Five of Pentacles, which is that feeling of being left out in the cold and rejected. And again, when I drew your attention to how sensitive you are to any perceived criticism, you know, this card asks you to recognize that quite often it's not criticism, you know, it's just the ugly behaviors of someone else. It's actually nothing to do with you. But that rejection wound goes so deep that you are just sensitive to anything that feels like, you know, bullying or criticism. It's so very hard for you to remain open-hearted and hear it, because there's still such a painful wound there. It's just like someone pouring salt into it. But you are being asked to recognize that what you're hearing and feeling in a lot of these situations isn't the whole truth, and that there's a wound beneath that distorts your perception of what's actually happening here. Now, the panda brings some beautiful advice. It says, create a sacred space for yourself in your home and or place of work. And what I'm hearing is that you don't give yourself enough space or time to actually begin the important work of self-love. I want you to consider how you treat those people around you. You know, when you arrive at work, you'll say good morning to a colleague, you ask them how they are. When someone says, actually, I'm not great, X, Y, Z happened, you will listen. You'll reassure them. If they ask for your guidance, you give it lovingly and willingly, and you feel genuine care and compassion towards that person for their plight, and you're able to give them the space to receive your love and support. It's the same when you come home from work. If you lived with someone, whether it was a significant partner, a child or a family member, or even just a housemate or lodger, how's your day been? Actually, it's not been so good. This is what happened. And again, you'd give them the space to listen. The problem here is that you come home to yourself and you don't give yourself this space. You do everything you can to distract yourself from it. And I do feel that you're very addicted to these readings overall, and you're more drawn to the ones that you find comforting, the ones that say union is coming, your person's madly in love with you. You know, you need to hear those messages because you need that comfort and reassurance. But it's actually distracting you from the very real work that needs to be done of giving yourself that love and care. You know, not relying on the approval, validation or reassurance of others. You've got to create that space for yourself. You know, when you come home from work, you're not sitting down with yourself and saying, how was my day? How do I actually feel about this? You know, how can I reframe that and make myself feel better and reassure myself? You know, that's what self-love is. It sounds incredibly simple, but we have to learn to give ourselves that love. It all begins with recognizing the inner dialogue that's unhelpful and actually giving ourselves the space to have that relationship with ourselves. And so that's the first very important piece of guidance for you. You know, you're throwing yourself head first into all of these spiritual practices and psychic development to help you obtain that broader perspective and to draw down on the wisdom. And you're very much trusting in other people's divinity, you know, like coming to my readings. But really, you're also using that as a crutch to not sit with yourself. You know, you're still codependent in your need to receive that comfort externally, and you're not giving yourself that sacred space to be there for you. And that really is where self-love begins. There is a need to protect yourself here. You know, when this card comes up suggesting protection, it's drawing to your awareness how permeable your field is. Empaths are much more susceptible to the low vibrational energies that they will experience externally. And low vibrational energy is in everything and everyone. It's in people, places, spaces, circumstances, conversations. And if we are very empathic, we're always feeling into and reading energy. And if there's a lot of low vibrational energy around you, that can be really disabling and uncomfortable. So learning how to protect your energy and to create that safe, sacred space around yourself is going to be really powerful in helping you feel better and stay more balanced. There is a video on my channel for grounding and protection, a guided meditation. It's about 12 minutes long. long, but in real terms, grounding and protection, once you do it independently, need take no more than a minute. And it's something I do throughout the day because it helps bring me back to center, helps me discharge any negative energies I've picked up, and to just, you know, sit in my own sacred space and positive energy. Your enthusiasm for this journey is what's going to help you succeed. Despite how challenging this is, you keep pressing forward, and Spirit is recognizing, you know, that drive and that desire to actually make this happen for yourself. You and your person are on different paths right now, and that's okay. You know, quite often when there's a separation, it can feel like the end of the world. Oh my God, it's over. I'm never going to see them again. I miss them so much. I just want to be with them. But actually, it's not really a separation. You know, you just need to travel down a different path at the moment because you're learning different lessons. But if you are twin flames, as this Four of Wands suggests, perhaps soulmates, it could be some other kind of soul connection. But, you know, your paths will reconvene later on down the road, and you can trust that this separation isn't ongoing. The longer you move through this journey, the more you find comfort in that truth, the more it helps to generate faith in the situation. And honestly, 6 years in, I can tell you that when my twin disappears, or if I disappear, as is quite often the case these days, you know, I know that it's not, this is over forever. It's just we just need to be on a different path right now, you know, and we'll reconvene when the time is right. It's all about divine timing. But, you know, you need to be reassured that the twin connection is an eternal one. It's not easy. It's probably not what we'd all choose. You know, it is a challenging connection, but I can tell you quite sincerely, it's the best thing that ever happened to me. Finding myself, healing these rejection wounds, and that's something I'm still doing. It's a never-ending process, but it has allowed me to elevate myself into a place of genuine peace and calm. You know, I don't have to sit in this pain anymore. I've learned through giving myself that love and time and space that I can navigate my way through this journey comfortably. And you can as well. And I just want to reassure you that is possible, because there's a lot of resentment here as well. You know, you find yourself thinking, oh, for God's sake, I don't want this stupid twin flame connection. I just want a normal, loving relationship. I'm so sick of this. And I understand that feeling. And you know what? We've all been in that energy. It is a challenging journey, and that first bit of just getting over that hurdle of learning to give to yourself is the hardest bit. But once you start moving in that direction, you gather momentum, and everything starts flowing in a much easier fashion. Now the Condor comes up and he says, you're too enmeshed in this situation. Step back and see the bigger picture before making decisions or taking action. And you're very quick to react to the harsh realities of life. You know, when they come tumbling in, you know, your first instinct is, oh God, not again. You know, this shit always happens to me. And you're being asked to, again, cultivate this higher perspective, continue stepping into wisdom so that you can see the bigger picture. Remember, we have the King of Swords in reverse here. The King of Swords is the King of Truth, and we see another eagle or bird of prey, a condor here again. Both of them are messengers of spirit. They have a higher perspective. It was a very strong message in pile 1 as well. The circumstances feel a little bit different here, but it may help you to watch that pile 2, because the messages were kind of similar. But, you know, the bear, this is a number 15 card, and that connects to the devil energy, but it's also the 10 of Wands. You know, we've got the 10 of Clubs down here. Again, that's it's the 10 of Pentacles, I'll bear in mind. It's the energy of commitment and union. But when the devil energy shows up, it reveals the imbalance that doesn't allow union to happen. Twin flame union is just energy. It's not about who says or does what. It's about the energy that each counterpart holds. And I know I talk about it a lot in my readings, but in case you're new to my channel, the easiest way to describe it is if you've got 2 magnets and you turn them around the wrong way and then you try and bring them together, they won't meet. You know, you get that funny, and you can feel the energy resisting, can't you, when you put those opposing energies together and they can't meet in the middle. That's what's happening in your connection right now. It's not personal. It's that your energy and your counterpart's energy is not able to meet because you've got stuff to balance before that can happen. You balance your energies and the magnets come crashing together and union is achieved. But right now, you need to trust that it's necessary for each of you to be on a different path. The lilies, you know, this is all about sympathy, remorse. It's represented here again with the King of Swords. And so this reminds you that you're not seeing the whole truth. A lot of the pain, a lot of the sorrow that you sit in and that you nurture and cultivate by continuing to repeat and indulge these negative thought forms is what's keeping you stuck here. You know, you've got to elevate yourself above it. Give yourself space and permission to actually love yourself. Practice meditation so that you can have that higher perspective. And again, there was some really valuable guidance about meditation in part 1 that may be helpful to you. Let's get some more cards. I want to understand what is the context of this separation so I can support you in, you know, being more aware there. So we've got the energy of death, which is transformation. The 3 of Wands, fulfillment. The King of Wands, power, drive and leadership. The Hangman in reverse. This also came up for part 1. The Knight of Cups. Clarifying for guidance. The 4 of Cups. The Knight of Wands. The Emperor in reverse. The Page of Cups in reverse, and the Ace of Cups, which came up in exactly the same spot in part 1. So funny how that works. Like I said, lots of these energies are very common throughout the collective right now. You are not alone. Come and find us in your Facebook group so we can all talk about it, and you can you know, get that reassurance and comfort to know that you're not alone in this. Links are always in the description box below. So what is the context of this separation? A much needed transformation. We see here this snake shedding skin, and you actually chose the King Cobra Jasper as well. Now remember that if a snake doesn't shed its skin, it dies. You know, this is a very necessary transformation. This connection had to come to a temporary close so that each of you could go down your own path and transform in the way that you needed to bring the energies back into balance. But I do feel that there may have been a third party situation here as well. Your person has never been very committed to the relationship they are or were in. They've always had a roving eye. And truthfully, it's because they've never really connected with someone at a truly intimate level. They're a very passionate, fun, charismatic person, and they certainly, you know, draw a lot of comfort from the intimate relationships they have had, but they've never found themselves truly emotionally fully invested. And I believe you've met them under these conditions, possibly while they were with someone else, and that in itself creates a lot of insecurity. You know, there's a common idea that, you know, you lose them the same way you found them. So this idea of their deceit or betrayal is probably a very strong energy in this connection. Neither one of you can figure out how to make this work, is what it feels like with the Hanged Man in reverse. I'm really drawn to the spider energy and how it's a representation of industriousness and creativity. And it just feels to me like neither one of you yet has the tools, the skills or the perspective needed to move this connection forward. There are too many conflicting ideas held in each of you that challenge a kind of balanced dynamic. The Knight of Cups though, and this beautiful dolphin energy really does reveal the very genuine affection at the heart of this connection. And this is a very action-oriented card, and I'm seeing how the dolphin is kind of, you know, coming in, always coming back. And I feel like no matter how much you try and move away from this person, how much you tell yourself that this situation doesn't serve you, perhaps because they are involved with someone else, they always seem to come back in and sweet talk and charm you, and you find it very difficult to resist that very affectionate energy because it is so magical. You know, when they open up to you in that way, it's such an addictive quality. And so you find yourself being sucked back in to that same pattern, but without actually having the tools to make it, you know, more productive, to change it. We've got this 4 of Cups energy here, and this is the energy for me of kind of being very self-reflective, self-absorbed, and it's represented here by a shell, and we see this hermit crab really hidden, you know, not coming out of their shell. And I feel like this, what this, you know, bearing in mind it's clarifying this energy of very much needed transformation. I'm drawn as well to the white roses, which are a symbol of purity. You know, this is about returning to innocence and discovering who we really are. And so, you know, the guidance here is that you both need to be in your own energy right now. You need to be withdrawn from one another so that you can have this sacred space and this time to grow and, you know, to take responsibility for yourselves. There is a lot of fast moving action here, and I'm really drawn to the hair here and its symbol of fertility. For some of you, and this won't resonate for all, but there may have been an unexpected pregnancy as the result of a fling with this person. The Knight of Wands is kind of very fast moving player energy, that very fun, flirty, kind of casual dynamic that exists between some people. But I was really drawn there to that symbol of fertility, and again, that connection to maybe that love triangle or third party situation. The King of Wands, remember what we were saying about your person. You know, they're very gregarious, they're very confident, charismatic, perhaps a bit of a player. And it is clarified here by that distorted Emperor energy, the Emperor in reverse. That's divine masculine energy that's out of balance. And so you're being asked to recognize that this isn't who your person really is. They're expressing all the shadow aspects just as you are, but in different ways. And this is how their shadow is expressed with this player energy. When this energy is balanced, you know, and it comes back into harmony, the shadow aspects fade into the background. Yours will too. So, you know, I feel like sometimes you sit in this energy of, oh my God, you know, my person is just, they're just not a trustworthy person. Why is this person my twin? You know, why am I faced with such challenges, circumstances? And you're being asked to not judge them so harshly and to recognize that they're just expressing that shadow that they've not yet been able to process. They're in this distorted energy, and this is the result of it. It's that fear that you can't find a way to make this work that usually puts the brakes on this connection. I feel like when this person comes charging back in and they are, you know, chasing you again and wanting to create that intimacy, that it ends up, you know, hitting that same stumbling block every time. Communication ceases, everything shuts down, and once more you go your separate ways. There is real love in this connection. You know, when the Ace of Cups comes up, especially with this Knight of Cups, and we see here that the love is overflowing from that cup, you know, it does reveal a very deep, emotional, intense connection. I'm hearing your person struggles to reveal this in a really meaningful way. And if they're in this Knight of Cups energy, which is, you know, a kind of very youthful, immature, adolescent kind of energy, even though it's expressive to a point, it never quite goes deep enough to reveal the authentic truth and the depths of the love. You know, the King energy that dominates here is the player energy, charisma, passion, sexy, you know, that gregarious charisma, you know, and so they find it easy to embody this energy, but not so much to face the true depth of their emotions. Let's get some more cards out of here. I'm going to get some more oracle cards, in fact. Let's start with the Heal Yourself cards. Home. Selling out. And entrapment. Painful energies here. Let's get some more of these Under the Roses Lenormand cards. The Child, the Clock Tower, and the Whip. So for sure, you know, that's come up as well over that energy of there being children involved, unexpected pregnancies, or some kind of, you know, connection there to children and home is coming up really strong. Now, it may be that you have children with this person, or that they have children with someone else, but definitely there is a lot of sadness and upheaval connected to home and the children, or the, you know, the family unit, that's really kind of causing you a lot of pain. And you can't shake the feeling that by continuing to be involved in this, that you're selling yourself short, you know. And part of you is like, I deserve better, and you're absolutely right. But, you know, these twin flame connections ask us to recognize that how things are now when we're in distorted energy isn't how things will always be. And so, you know, to your mind, you think, well, showing up in this connection isn't loving myself. And actually, at this point in time, that may be correct. You know, sometimes our person really isn't a healthy person to be around, and it's okay to remove ourselves in that situation and recognize that. But you are being asked to acknowledge that it's not always that clear cut, and that people do shift and transform just as you do. I do think that you try and keep this person connected and try and coerce them into what you need and want by cracking the whip. You know, aggression, conflict, confrontation. You're a very calm, empathic person, but I'm hearing that when you lose it, you lose it. And, you know, we've got that kind of death energy over there, that transformation looming over. Again, this self-entrapment through the inability to recognize where one is self-sabotaging. And when that kind of energy bubbles over and you start to feel out of control, you know, you crack the whip, it gets really intense and inflammatory, and you probably move into separation again. But this is all a matter of divine timing. You know, this is the Six of Swords, and this reminds you that nothing stays the same for long. Everything is transient. Everything's moving forward. This is also a number 19 card, which is the energy of the sun in tarot, and that's about joy, happiness, and illuminating the truth. The Six of Swords is about moving forward into calmer waters. So for me, this is really a powerful reminder, you know, that divine timing is at play here, that everything is transient and that the sun can shine again, that you can move into calmer waters. But perhaps this is true for you now. If you feel that you're selling yourself short and you're not doing yourself justice, then by all means, you have to be true to yourself and pull back. Unconditional love and being someone's twin flame doesn't entitle them to your presence, affection, or, you know, communication. We can love someone unconditionally whilst also recognizing that it's not safe for us to be around them. It just means that we're loving them from a distance, accepting them as they are, not judging them, but also taking care of ourselves by removing ourselves. So, you know, there's no shame in stepping away. You know, a lot of people very mistakenly believe that the twin flame connection requires you to show up no matter the circumstances. And that simply is not true. Your first responsibility is to yourself, to give that love and protection to yourself. That's always, always the answer. We've got the platypus, the cheetah. I never normally read the cheetah as the player actual cheetah, but I can't help connecting it to that betrayal energy here. And the ladybug. And let's get some more of these magical herb oracle cards as well. Communication, activation, and reflection. Okay, so, you know, the platypus, stop complaining and focus your attention on the blessings in your life. And it says here communication, and this brings me back to that inner dialogue. What are you communicating to yourself? You know, when you do give yourself space to think, you know, it's complaining energy. Your attention's entirely focused on what's wrong, what hurts, and how hopeless it feels. And whilst we do need to face what's wrong, and it's okay to feel that complaining energy, we also need to move that inner dialogue and conversation towards positive change and the blessings. Okay, today's been a really rough day. This happened and it's okay for me to feel rotten about it. But how can I transmute these energies and restore my emotional state to one that feels good? Again, I feel very guided that this all roots back to how you communicate with yourself. Get clear on your intention, stay focused and move quickly to achieve your goal. And we've got activation here. So, you know, I know you feel a bit sorry for yourself that you've got tangled up with this person that is perhaps deceitful, in this energy of cheating or betrayal. But, you know, this is activating the healing that both of you need. You know, you were meant to face this very difficult and challenging situation, and so were they, because through one another, you activate the other's growth, expansion, understanding, self-awareness. Traditionally in the twin flame connection, it's the divine feminine that finds that that path first. So try not to judge them for not being where you are and not seeing the need to grow and change. This is a time of good fortune and abundance. Be willing to receive all the good things in your life. Reflection. And again, this is a message that came up for pile 1. And, you know, a perfect analogy is like what I said at the beginning of this reading. Try not to ask really specific questions. When we give spirit the space to deliver the messages we need, we open up that channel to receive what we're meant to receive. When we are very determined, specific that we want exactly this, the channel narrows and spirit can only deliver what we've asked for. And if what we've asked for isn't meant for us, we get nothing. You know, so we have free will. Spirit is always looking to give us what's meant for us, what we need the most, and we have to create space for that to happen. You need to reflect very deeply on all the good things in your life. You've been asked twice here to recognize your blessings and to realize how much positive things have come out of your life experiences. I know that you feel lonely and let down and that you feel unloved, but again, you have the power to restore that feeling of inner peace and balance. And this is what this person's activating you to do, even though I know that's a very hard pill to swallow because this is such a challenging situation. You know, the guidance here is that this really is a gift, and I can vouch for that. You know, I've been on this journey myself for 6 years, and I understand what it feels like to resent it and hate it. But you know, I've definitely moved into that energy of appreciation because I've seen how much my life has changed positively as a result. And that's the path you're on, Divine Feminine. You know, your life is moving in a much more positive direction as a result. So I'm going to get some more cards for guidance now. We're going to use the charms as well here before I take this over to the extended. In the extended, we're going to go deeper into the thoughts and feelings, the context and situation, get some messages from your higher self and theirs. But let's get some final guidance cards for you before I wrap it up. We've got the Queen of Cups in reverse, the Seven of Swords, again, deceit coming up in that same area, the Ten of Swords, and the Four of Pentacles. And the guidance, please. The Star, the Nine of Wands, the Three of Cups, and the Page of Swords in reverse. Let's get some charms as well. I've got to straighten my grid because it just distorts the energy. Someone actually asked me in one of the comments on my videos yesterday, have you got OCD? And it really amused me because I am the most untidy, non-OCD person ever, but I am quite particular about my cards being straight and my crystals being straight. I don't know why. Okay. Let's see what we've got here. So many of the same ones keep coming out. Keep going, keep growing. As I said, it just affirms that these are messages the whole collective reads right now, needs. I'm trying my best and that's enough. Hello, I'm yours. The asthma pump. The aeroplane. Good vibes. Fake news. And the infinity symbol. I feel like we need to get a couple more. Again, same ones that keep coming out. The Loner Club, the White Moth, Save Yourself, and the little FBI badge with Fox Mulder as one of the Simpsons, special agent from the X-Files. Okay, pile 2, you lovely soul. The final guidance for you before we go to the extended. This Queen of Cups in reverse. Again, we had this energy of you cracking the whip and moving into the energy of confrontation, which again, I feel like you have to be very much provoked to get there. But you do get there. And when you're in that energy, you are less than compassionate. It's like all of those lovely, happy, high vibrational energies about you just rapidly dissipate in all of the fury and the anger. you beat yourself up a lot for this. What's really powerful about this is that you do recognize this about yourself, and you know, you really give yourself a hard time when you don't match up to your own high standards. The message here is to recognize that you can trust that that's going to resolve itself. You can be optimistic and faithful that your enthusiasm to face yourself and resolve all of these energies actually means that, you know, it's going to happen for you. You've just got to keep moving in the right direction. We've got the Seven of Swords here. And I feel like, you know, in your situation specifically, that the deceit and the betrayal is the thing you find hardest to stomach and accept. It's just intolerable for you. But again, the message is that this is activating you. And, you know, the Nine of Wands here is the energy of stamina and endurance and not giving up. You know, I'm really guided to notice how this wand is lit up. You know, they are activating you. They're lighting parts of you up that need to be healed. So even though this is a hard experience, there is an important lesson here that's meant for you. You are meant to go through this. And this can help relieve some of your shame and guilt as well, because I don't think you ever saw yourself as the kind of person that would involve themselves with someone that was unavailable. So there's a lot of shame and guilt connected to that. And again, you know, Spirit is saying, trust this was how it was meant to be. For all concerned, everything is as it's meant to be. This is what we signed up for. This was the soul contract. This is what we're meant to be learning. Keep growing, keep going. The Ten of Swords, again, that's that stabbed in the back energy. You know, when you're in pain, you need to learn to reach out to your friends and for support. You have this tendency, you know, with this loners club energy, you have this tendency to withdraw when you're hurting and to you know, to not find comforting activities or interactions that can just help you have a nice time and you know, forget about your woes for a while, which is important for all of us. You know, we all need that time out. I feel like because quite a lot of the people around you may judge harshly or they don't understand. I've said this in all my piles today, but come and join us in the Facebook group. You know, there are so many of us over here that do understand and that don't judge you and that are here for you. You don't need to be in pain alone. You know, I'm really guided that the asthma pump is coming up around this, that symbol of, you know, trying to find some peace, trying to find some respite and calm. And, you know, the Three of Cups is a very social card. It's the card of coming together. And so I do think that, you know, your soul tribe is out there and ready to help you. The Four of Pentacles clarified by the Page of Swords in reverse. This indicates your inability to let go, that chaser energy. And of course that, you know, the infinity sign, this cycle that goes round and round. It's so frustrating when we know a situation's hurting us. We can't change it right now, and yet we can't seem to let go. But it is possible to let go. You're just not seeing the truth of the transformation that's required yet. You haven't, even though you've dived in, you know, there's more for you to discover yet. And you've got to trust in your own good vibes, you know, that they will lead you there. And that you know, your heart will bloom again. It won't always feel this painful again. We've got that moth, you know, that symbol of beautiful transformation, of coming into the light. And you are trying, and that's enough. Stop beating yourself up for not being where you want to be. You know, you wouldn't get in a car if you'd never driven the first few times and complain that your driving was crap. You'd recognise that you're a learner. Okay, I keep stalling the car. You know, I keep, you know, near misses and whatever else goes off. You realise that you're a learner and that you've just got to practice and, you know, keep going. And you've just got to allow yourself to be a beginner with these energies. Allow yourself to be where you are. You will learn to let go. You will learn to release this codependence. Some beautiful reassurance from your person here. Hello, I'm yours. Remember, this is an eternal connection. When your person leaves, it's not for good. It's because the energy is imbalanced. They're always going to come back again. Trust in your own good vibes. You have the energy, the power to save yourself, to elevate yourself above this pain and to find the guidance and wisdom that you need. The FBI badge, I always see this as the sneaky detective. You know, for me, this is, how is it sabotaging you to keep sneaking around, snooping on this person and observing their life, torturing yourself that you're not in it, you know, because a lot of what you're seeing and thinking is not true. We have to remember that social media is not an accurate portrayal of our life. You know, people only post the good bits, and that can paint a very untrue picture. And this is also asking you to pay attention to what other people around you are saying. You know, perhaps they're stirring up trouble and not really speaking the truth. You've got to apply a high level of discernment here. These cycles that are coming through are connected to how both of you have interacted with others in your past. Not to say that it's karma, good or bad. I don't believe that that's the case here. But I just feel like you two have cycled through many lifetimes of learning this same lesson. And again, this is why you're being asked to recognize that you had to go through it again, and that this is the lifetime in which you resolve it. This is the lifetime in which you break the cycle. You know, the buck stops here with you, and you have a chance to resolve all of this and bring this connection to fruition. It's happening for you. So I really hope that was helpful, pile 2. I'm going to take this reading over to the extended now. As I said, we're going to go deeper. We're going to get messages from each counterpart, look deeper at thoughts and feelings. If you'd like to join me there, you can find the link down below. But thank you for joining me here. It's been a pleasure as always. I appreciate you being here. Thank you for all your lovely comments. It really makes my day to read your beautiful comments. For all of your likes, thank you for subscribing. And a very big thanks to those of you that watch my extended readings, watch the commercials, and generously donate your time by way of energy exchange, and in some cases your actual donations and the decks you send me. Incredibly generous and very much appreciated. Thank you so much. I will see you next time. Lots of love. Bye. Hello, pile 3. Welcome to your reading. You have chosen the Bumblebee Jasper and the Oak Ash Thorn Tarot. This is a beautifully created deck, independently artist created deck. I love these decks. If you skipped the intro today, pile 3, make sure you go back and check it, because I'm hosting a giveaway for this beautiful huge piece of serpentine. If you would like to be in with a chance of winning, make sure you go and check out the intro. But let's get on with your pile. We are asking today, what is happening in your world that you need to know about the most? This is a sign you've been asking for. And I love these readings, because when we leave so much room for spirit to deliver the messages we need, we usually get the most impactful and productive messages of all. So hold a situation or person in mind and just set the intention that you ask spirit for whatever messages you need the most. You can ask for a very specific sign if that feels good to you. Perhaps an animal, a phrase, a symbol, numbers, an object, whatever works for you. That just helps to validate the message even further. We're going to use all the oracle cards and charms as well today, and there will be an extended reading if this resonates for you as well. So let's do this. What do you need to know? Okay. We've got the Sun, the Wheel of Fortune, the Three of Wands, the Star in reverse, and the Six of Wands in reverse. Okay, and clarifying these, the Hanged Man in reverse, the World in reverse. And don't worry about reversals, it doesn't mean it's bad, it's just a different perspective. The Seven of Cups, the Page of Swords in reverse, and the Ace of Cups in reverse. Such beautiful cards. Okay, let's get some oracle cards as well. From the Magical Herb Oracle, we've got expansion and a meditation, and the herbs there are skullcap and ephedra. I don't know, I'm not familiar with either of those, but you might be. Meditation and expansion. From the Heal Yourself Oracle, we've got healing and courage. And from The messages from your spirit guides. All of the decks I use are listed in the description box below if you're interested. We've got the boar and the chimpanzee. You'll have to forgive me. There's such a glare on my camera. I hope you can see these. I think you can. Boar and chimpanzee. And we're going to get some of these cards from the Under the Roses Lenormand. Also, we will pull more cards as we go, but we'll just start with what's on the table. We've got mice, that came up for pile 2 as well. The ring. And the grave. Let's move our charm bowl. We'll get some charms later. Okay, pile 3. What do you need to know the most? The first message coming through for you is that you've got to trust what's happening in your world right now. Even though it's disruptive and difficult, everything is truly exactly as it's meant to be. And denying or resisting these changes is not helping you. You are being drawn back to the energy of joy, to the energy of happiness, but to find yourself, to find your way there, you've got to take some steps in the dark. You've got to shake things up and recognize where there are obstacles that don't support that loving intention just to be happy. Everything is happening for you right now. The universe clears a path for what's meant to happen. But when it's clearing away the old, that can feel really hard and really challenging. It doesn't always make sense, and believe me, I understand that energy. You know, when I woke up, it felt like my whole life collapsed around me. I was kicked out of my business. I was kicked out of my home. So many powerful and really horrible changes occurred. But it's only with hindsight that I can reflect on those times and see how not only was that meant to happen, but that it actually made space for what was meant for me. And I can appreciate it so much. And so this is the energy that you're being asked to acknowledge, that this is happening for you, not to you. You have to surrender to this. I'm hearing that you've been struggling against the tide for too long. And you know how it is when you're in rough waters. The more you struggle, the more vulnerable you are. Whereas when you surrender and let go, you can move with the water. You can just float and move with the water. And your journey is much smoother as a result. You've been struggling against that tide for a really long time because you're so very focused on what you want and so very angry that things aren't the way you wanted them to be. There's a need to let go of how you thought your life was supposed to turn out, and recognize that very few of us are so privileged that our life actually goes to plan, that we have to be more flexible, that we have to learn to move with the energies that present, and that actually much of your discomfort is as a result of that resistance rather than just the challenges themselves. We've had lots of similar cards out in all 3 piles today, and I do believe there is a big collective shift occurring in the spiritual community at the moment. We're all being moved. You know, we've just moved into the age of Aquarius, and many of us are being activated to let go of the old and make space for the new. Of course, no one really talks about how challenging and uncomfortable that is. The Wheel of Fortune that's coming up for you, you know, is that divine intervention, destiny and fate. And it's such an interesting energy that presents here because we see the spider's web, which is a symbol of industriousness and, you know, creativity. But it can also mean being stuck, that feeling that we're actually stuck. And so the message is here, you're not. You know, the snake represents change. This also came out in one of the other readings. You know, when snakes shed their skin, they're also a symbol of creation. And we've got all the little rabbits down here, symbols of creation. And then the owl a symbol of wisdom. And this is a number 10 card. You know, it's about completion, destiny, and what's meant for you. It's clarified by the world in reverse. And so you may be sitting in this energy presently that your life is over. You know, that your dreams are shattered and, you know, everything is ruined. And that is simply not the case for you. You're a very brave person. You fought very hard to stay in balance. You fought very hard to have a good life. I'm hearing you've worked hard and that you've driven yourself and found that kind of self-approval in your accomplishments and in your ability to be independent and successful. But those things are hollow victories. They may make our lives more comfortable. They may bring us a temporary reprieve from all of the self-loathing because we did something good or achieved something, but they don't actually help us address the deeper wounds or layers that are actually destabilizing us. And the truth is, you've never found that happiness. As hard as you strived, you never really truly feel peace and joy. And you don't believe that this is something that is available to you. You know, this is something that happens to other people, not people like you, not people that have lived like you. And by all means, I can tell just from looking at these cards and feeling into the energies here that your life hasn't been easy. And so Spirit wants to acknowledge that. It wants to let you know that, you know, you've already worked through a lot of the very difficult karma and challenging lessons that you needed to, but you're being challenged now to sit in awareness, to accept and surrender to the purpose and power in all of those experiences. You are very adept. You're a very skilled and confident person. There's a lot of fire energy here. This is the energy of Aries, Sagittarius, Leo. You know, this is somebody who can take a new project and run with it with gusto. There is so much drive here in this energy. And Spirit is saying, if you can turn that same energy, that energy of drive and passion and inspiration, focus it on your own healing, your own expansion, that you're going to move towards the energy which you're meant to be embodying, which is happiness. I know you felt it wasn't available to you, but it is. And you do have all of these daydreams and fantasies about what fulfillment looks like. And this Three of Wands is one that actually triggers a lot of sadness in me, because we see here this lone fox. Now, the Three of Wands is actually about fulfillment. It's about getting what we want. And it feels like you've been so independent, you know, so strategic in building a life that's stable and balanced and good, that you've lost sight of the value of love and companionship. You don't trust in those things. You've been burned too many times. And so it's safer to keep them as a pipe dream, a castle in the sky. You know, we see here all the little acorns. You know, acorns are, you know, it's a seed. It's planting a seed. But, you know, you're never really contributing to nurturing that growth because you've resigned yourself to solitude. And yet deep down you long for somebody else. The hard and strong part of yourself that has learned to be alone tells you that you don't need anyone else. And so when you feel that yearning take you, you know, you revert back to this very strong, I don't need this, I'm good on my own energy. And you just don't believe that you can have it. You don't know how to have it. And you've lost sight of the gentle art of flirting and romantic communication. It makes you feel so awkward and uncomfortable. You don't perceive yourself as lovable, attractive, or fun or flirty. Not when it's connected to someone you want. When you're being playful with a random person where there's no spark or energy between you, it's easy to use your sexual nature to be playful and fun. But when there's actually someone in front of you that, you know, you may feel drawn towards, it's like you're disabled from really embodying that energy and you're not very comfortable with it anyway. We've got the King of Wands and the Ace of Cups in reverse, you know, and even though you work so hard to keep your life balanced and stable, deep down you feel very much out of control. You know, the message here is it's because no matter how much we try and pull our outer world together, we have to learn to fill our tanks up from the inside. All of the trophies and successes and achievements in the land aren't going to really give us that strong sense of self, pardon me, that we need to really feel good about ourselves and the world around us. And you've spent a long time, as I said, validating yourself through these external realities that you cultivated for yourself. We've got the boar or the pig, and he says, face your problems head on with confidence and courage and you will emerge victorious. I want to get a clarifier for this. I want to understand what situation specifically they're referring to. Wow, so we've got strength in reverse, 8 of Pentacles in reverse, and the Ace of Swords. So this is actually connected to work, because you've been doing work all your life that you knew you could do well and that you knew would yield the monetary results and stability that you needed, but it wasn't the truth of who you are. And the message here that's connected to work is actually that you need to start being true to yourself. You don't have presently the strength and courage, and we've had 3 cards connected to courage here, strength coming up in reverse. You've had 3 cards here that remind you where you're too scared to take that leap of faith towards what's true and real for you. You know, to embrace your own truth, to pick up your crown and wear it with pride. There's a fear here. Let's see what the fear is. What is the fear that stops you? The Empress in reverse. So it's distorted feminine energy. It's not recognizing your power of creativity and creation and your power to be abundant no matter where you place your attention. You know, it's not the case that you struck gold and were lucky with the opportunity you encountered, because lots of other people may have had that same opportunity and not succeeded. You know, the measure of your success was not in the opportunity, but in what you brought to the equation. And so Spirit is saying to you, trust that you can apply that skill and that magic and that power to anything you desire, and that you can start to create a happier, more fulfilling way of life for yourself. Use both your intuition and your intellect to solve the problem or get answers to your question. And this is where meditation and expansion comes in, and also healing. You know, we see her here holding the light in her hands, and with meditation and expansion, and I talked about this in pile 1, you know, there's a lot of guidance about meditation in that pile. But when we meditate, we do literally expand our minds. And when we expand our minds, we expand our opportunity to receive more wisdom, more guidance, more information. Our intuition is in our higher mind. It's connected deeply to our subconscious, and we access it through that expansion. You have to use your intuition and your intellect to solve the problem, to get answers to your questions. You're being asked to bring your 5D and 3D faculties into balance. I do feel like you are a very intuitive person, and that actually you already dabble in light work. You already have moved yourself part way into a new career space, but you're quite afraid to take that leap because your present career does give you so much power and stability. You're respected and you receive all of that approval and validation that you really need there to feel good about yourself. But Spirit's asking you to recognize that, again, you can create that same magic wherever you apply yourself, and that there are bigger and better things available to you that will help you move more into that joy factor. Now we've got the mice, the ring, and the grave. And this came up in pile 2, and because there's 3 mice, it reminded me of that song, The 3 Blind Mice, you know, see how they run, see how they run. And then it's followed by the ring and the grave. And so what I'm hearing is whatever person has been in your zone of awareness that you're longing after, and yet hate yourself for longing after, you know, convince yourself all the time that you don't need or want them. In truth, you know, they are running because of the barriers you and they both have in place. They are very similar to you. You know, they have also learned to be alone and learned to reject love so that they can be safe. They've resigned themselves to this is safer, this is happier, it's more stable, it's more comfortable. But there is a deep longing and desire for commitment between you. But every time you run, they run, and it kind of goes to the grave only to be reborn again. This is actually 9 of Wands energy, which is endurance and stamina. It's also number 8, you know, that perpetual cycle, the infinity symbol. So, you know, what I'm really feeling here is that you're both runners in this connection, that you both avoid intimacy, that you are both very much focused on your independence and your solitude and, you know, feeling safe in that. So you both struggle to meet halfway in an intimate and emotional way. It's not just them. I want to get some more context for this. Page of Pentacles in reverse. 3 of Cups. 8 of Swords. 4 of Cups. And Temperance. Again, so many similar energies coming up. 3 of Cups, 8 of Swords, 4 of Cups all came up in previous readings, including the Page in reverse. The guidance here. King of Swords in reverse. Queen of Swords upright. Oh, that's a bonus card with no number on it. We'll take that one out. Some of you may have asked for a little mouse as a sign. No, you already had some. There's another one for you if you did. Queen of Cups, 7 of Pentacles, 2 of Swords. Okay. There may be a third party situation for you and this person, but I feel like you both ended up with other people and are maybe both in recent years or months become single again. There is a real lack of understanding here on both sides of the fence as to how to actually move this forward. And it feels like there is some interaction between you that's playful, maybe sociable and platonic. But neither one of you really understands how the other feels. And because you are so risk averse when it comes to expressing your emotions, you know, no one's really opened that can of worms or let the cat out of the bag so that you can kind of find some peace and understanding in that. Both of you are hidden from the other right now is what I'm hearing, and very self-absorbed in your own journey. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but there is an opportunity to progress this connection through your own expansion and awareness. The fact that the Temperance card comes out does make me think this is a twin flame connection or a soulmate connection. For me, this is always about balancing and harmonizing energies. And so, you know, that runner energy, that avoidant energy that you both are in, you know, really inhibits you from receiving the activations from one another that you need to actually grow. The reason you don't know what to do is because neither one of you are recognizing the truth or purpose of this connection. And I'm really intrigued that we've got the King and Queen of Swords here, and I feel like your counterpart is in a much more resistant energy than you are. They are very much deep in denial, and they have less understanding even than you. But when you do show up, you know, when you do have interaction with them, you're cold, you're straight to the point. You know, it's not that you're unfriendly, but neither are you injecting any warmth. You know, neither one of you gives the other a green light. And even though you're aware of the transformation that can occur through these interactions, you're not always brave enough to embody it. And what's really lovely about this is that that deep emotion and warmth is there. We've got, you know, the Queen of Cups here alongside the Queen of Swords, which really belies that cold energy. You know, the Queen of Cups is such a warm, affectionate energy. And there's a lot of air energy here as well in this reading. So much air energy come through. You know, Aquarius and... why did I forget them? Aquarius, Libra and Gemini. I feel like neither one of you connects with your emotional bodies in a natural and comfortable way. It's something you both avoid, and you get tangled up too much in your heads to truly embody the warmth and the depth of emotion that resides there. Your person's sleeping. It's not that they're not invested in you. It's not that they're not invested in this connection, but they are fast asleep now. And whereas you're waking up and turning the attention towards yourself, you know, they are still unaware of the work that needs to be done. I feel like you often question if you are twin flames or soulmates or not. We've got the Two of Swords clarifying temperance here. And so that suggests to me that there's a lot of indecision and speculation around how to handle this connection and how to move it forward. So let's get some guidance for you on what you need to know about that. I'm going to get some more of these Under the Roses Lenormand cards. The Clover, the Bouquet, the Fish, and the Stork. That's also Queen of Cups energy. And some more animals. We've got the Cat, the Kiwi Bird, the Polar Bear, and from the Heal Yourself cards, we've got Self-Love and Procrastination. So again, that indecision coming up. I'm hearing you may have had some very conflicting or contradictory readings or messages about the true nature of this soul connection, which is what has created all of this procrastination, ambiguity and indecision. You're not sure what it is and you're not sure what it's not. You just know it's intense and you're bloody tired of it. You know, this is the energy of, oh, you know, I just wish I could leave this behind me. And that's come through on all piles today. Again, a big collective shift here. I don't think you realise how lucky you are. You know, we've got the Lucky Clover here. It's coming out as a number 2, High Priestess energy. And I do think that, you know, this is 6 of Wands energy. You are so much more victorious, skilled and gifted than you really allow yourself credit for. And so Spirit is saying to you, please appreciate, observe and use the gifts in the way that they were intended. We've got the Bouquet here, and again this is Queen of Swords energy, which, you know, came up there for you, that energy of, you know, being cold, pulling back. But it's also a number 9, which is connected to the energy of solitude, and the fact that it's the gift of flowers or the bouquet, and self-love is coming up here. You know, this really reminds me that the goal here for you is to just give this love to yourself. You know, you don't have to worry too much about what this connection means or what it is. And as well as the Queen of Swords coming up again, we've also got the Queen of Cups, you know, as well as the King of Wands coming through here with the Fish. And this is a number 7 energy, that number of divinity. So I do feel like your counterpart is a spiritual or soulful connection, but you're being drawn to place the focus on yourself. You know, the Stork is the energy of fertility. And again, this is a number 17, the energy of temperance. You know, and fertility, of course, is divine feminine energy, the energy of creation. That's where your focus needs to be. It doesn't matter if you are a twin or not, you are divinely feminine. And there is divine feminine energy that you need to tap into and master. The Cat. It's time to strike out on your own and relinquish your over-dependency on others. Again, I feel this is work-related for you. I feel there's so much abundance for you to tap into. And, you know, maybe you're quite corporate and you're perceiving this very holistic kind of career step as not being as lucrative, but that certainly doesn't need to be the case. Meditation's coming up again for you with the Kiwi Bird. Do a walking meditation each day for the next week. That's very clear instructions. You know, this is about cultivating that expansion through the act of meditation, getting out there with your feet on the ground, tuning into nature, you know, really reconnecting with all of those Mother Gaia energies. And it says here as well, stand up for yourself and speak your truth respectfully and compassionately with no attachment to the outcome. Interestingly with this, I feel a link to a legal or court case for some of you. If you are encountering a legal battle or some kind of interaction with the justice system, you're being asked to speak your truth respectfully and compassionately, and to release attachment to the outcome, again, to surrender to what is, and to trust that everything will be as it's meant to be. But you do need to stand up for yourself. But there needs to be a step away from the deep emotion and the ugly feelings that are connected to whatever this wrongdoing is. You know, you've got to be respectful and compassionate in your delivery and demonstrate that you are operating from the perspective of wanting a result that's for the highest good of all concerned. And that sounds really contradictory in a court case, because usually there's a winner and a loser. But I'm hearing in your case, it needs to be for the highest good of all concerned. Perhaps there's a mediation or a bit in between. You know, perhaps there's a compromise that can work better for everybody, but you're being asked not to be too stubborn in your approach to that. I know that message strongly deviates from what we were discussing, but I don't feel that this is connected to your person. It feels like this interacts with something else, something that came before, and that it's your attachment to the outcome again that is kind of blurring the boundaries and not creating room for what's meant to happen. It doesn't matter if there's procrastination in a decision, and the cat creeps in here in the background again, but she's holding a light up, and I'm guided to the clock, and it's 20 to 7. Remember, 7 is the number of divinity, you know, the number of that spiritual connection. Of course, the cat is that representation of intuition, and this is actually a number 8 card, and 8 is that symbol of infinity. It's a very twin flamey symbol, but for me this is saying in the right timing, you know, you will accurately intuit the real answer. You know, you just need to trust in the now. This is about loving you, and if your focus is there, you know, you can anticipate good results. So let's get some overall guidance cards and charms for you before we take the extended. In the extended, we're going to go deeper on the messages from each counterpart. I want to get messages from your higher self. Dig deeper into that situation, the feelings that are coming up there. But let's get some guidance cards and some charms for you before we wrap this up. Oh, that one just come out. Wow, more courage. So many messages of courage. Open, purification, and freedom. And from the Heal Yourself cards, family and tribe, sexual arts, temptation, and alchemy. Wow, huge energies. Oh, a little bit of paper fell out. We're going to keep that. Okay. Hello, I'm a bad idea. Save yourself. I need my space. IPHM, I'll explain that one when we get to it. The Pentacle. Everything will be all right. Dusk until dawn, the asthma pump, and the bullshit remover. I have to say, no matter how much I shake that bowl up, we see such a pattern at the moment with the charms that are coming through. There really are some big collective shifts. Make sure you're in my Facebook group so you can, you know, get a feel for what everyone else is experiencing on their journey, because it really does feel like there are so many syncs for people right now. So courage is really important. This card and this message has come up again and again for you, and here it's connected to family and tribe. And so having picked up on that court case, I don't know if this is connected to divorce, custody, something in the family unit, perhaps a business disagreement, who knows. But you've got to stand up for yourself. You know, again, you're being prodded and pushed towards courage. And I'm hearing that one of the reasons you struggle to do this is because you don't want to be perceived as being wrong or a bully or big and bad, you know, such as your people-pleasing tendencies sometimes, even though you're a very forthright and headstrong person, that you don't actually like being in that energy of conflict and confrontation. It really kind of moves you in unpleasant ways. But this is a number 13 card. You know, that's death energy. It's the energy of transformation. You have to trust that through this process, something really important is happening. And with this little bit of paper coming up here and it's blank, I'm hearing nothing you can say is wrong. You know, you've just got to populate this page with your story, your truth. There's no right or wrong here. It's okay. You're being asked to be more open to the flirtation and sexual spark available to you in your connection with your person. You know, just because neither one of you is ready to dive into something deep or meaningful doesn't mean that you can't interact in an affectionate way. I do feel that this would be hugely beneficial for both of you, but I'm hearing there's a great deal of shame connected to your sexuality and the freedom to be a sexual being. We've got purification and temptation here, and I just feel like this is something you really need to heal and focus on. You know, focus on the wound in your sacral chakra that inhibits you from feeling comfortable, safe and worthy of having that sexual intimacy. Temptation here is really beautiful because we see this kind of hologram of the counterpart coming forward. And so, you know, through those meditative practices and astral connections, you know, you can start nurturing the very potent sexual energy that exists between you. And we've got the pentacle here, which I don't always associate with magic, but in this instance, there's a book called Egyptian Sex Magic by a lady called Judy Hall. I don't think it's called that actually. It's about Egyptian sex magic that you may find very meaningful and powerful, especially because you have such a propensity towards manifesting abundance. Sexual energy is the most potent energy for manifesting. You know, the reason orgasm feels so beautiful is because it's the closest we come to connecting to that universal flow of unconditional love and source, and that's why it's so euphoric. But these wounds you have in your sexual center are inhibiting you from really embodying all of that power, and it is divine, feminine, creative power. So this is something that needs to be purified so that you can allow yourself to give into that temptation without shame and without guilt. There is very real chemistry here. You know, we've got alchemy again, that temperance energy. And here, you know, with the mugwort and the freedom, you're being asked to set yourself free. You know, we've got this cage here with an open door. Stop restricting yourself. You know, right now, you and your person aren't ready to come together in a kind of powerful, long-term or meaningful way. But there are ways that you can enjoy this connection and start opening up to one another. You know, right now, both of you are working through your own stuff, and I genuinely feel you're not what's best for each other. You know, again, it's about that self-love that came up earlier, and there's this message to save yourself, that you both need your space. But that doesn't mean you can't be open to a new beginning, you know, and this is the key to your expansion and forward progression. Now, when the IPHM card comes up, charm, this is, IPHM is a governing body that accredits holistic practitioners. So, for example, I'm a member, which is why I have this charm, but they check all of my credentials, all of my certificates, and then they accredit me as, you know, a professional and vetted holistic practitioner. So when this charm comes up, and it's so interesting for you in the context of what we've read about your career, you are really strongly being guided towards a holistic path. You know, there's something there for you. Again, allow yourself to be open to it. Allow yourself the freedom to explore it, because there's so much abundance available to you. The BS remover. You know, this is all about recognizing, you know, how sometimes your own perception of what is doesn't serve you. There's a need to see through the BS, is what I'm feeling here for you. And it's your own BS that's clouding your judgment. Everything will be all right with your court case, with your career, with your love life. You are divinely blessed. Remember, we had the clover energy. You know, you are a very lucky person. You know, you're meant to be successful and happy and joyful. This is why you're here. These are the energies you're learning to embody. They're yours to take. Your person is always thinking of you just as you're always thinking of them. You know, there's no doubt about that in my mind. It's just that both of you have a very closed down hearts, and you're very fearful of opening up to intimacy again. You've both been very, very hurt in the past. I feel you've hurt each other in the past. And so there's such a tremendous amount of anxiety. And this charm asks you to take a breather. And the numbers on this are 58, just in case that's significant to you. But, you know, you need to learn how to find that place of peace through meditation, how to expand your mind so that you can access that freedom and that knowing that is actually going to set you free. But more than anything, you do need to find some peace and some respite. I'm hearing that your life has been very stressful in recent months. And if you are dealing with a court case or the justice system, that's, you know, quite understandable. But look at how the sun has come out to illuminate your reading just now. And I want to remind you the card that we began with. You know, it feels like it's raining. And we can see here in the background, it almost looks like a ship sinking beneath the surface. And yet the sun is a card of happiness and joy. And this is what, you know, this is why I say it doesn't feel like it to you right now. But these are blessings in disguise that you just need to allow them to unfold as they're meant to, and try not to resist this or assume that it was meant to be anything different than what it is. There is a strong astral connection here where you do feel comfortable expressing that sexual energy. And the message here is to allow yourself to bring that into the open, to bring it into the 3D, to ground that energy. I'm guided as well to remind you that in twin flames, sexual energy moves differently in each counterpart. The divine feminine, her sexual energy moves from the heart down to her sacral. So her heart is always engaged with the process. In divine masculine energy, it moves from the sacral to the heart. And if they have a closed heart space, that energy traveling upwards triggers and activates the heart space. So sexual union is a very powerful and progressive act for twin flames, and something which you're being encouraged to release shame and guilt and explore. But I really hope that was helpful for you, pile 3. I'm going to take this over to the extended now. We're going to go deeper there. We're going to look at the thoughts and feelings. We're going to get messages from each counterpart, and of course some more guidance. If this has resonated for you, do join me over there. You can find a link in the description box below. But thank you so much for joining me here. You really have been so generous to me in recent weeks. I appreciate you guys so much for all the donations you send. And I do always send a little handwritten note and a card when I receive those. It really does make my day. If you would like to exchange energy, you can find all the information in the description box below. Of course, you are never obligated to do so, but it is appreciated. But those of you that watch my commercials as well, that is such a perfect energy exchange. You know, you're so very generous. A minute of your time makes the world of difference to my channel, and it's actually a perfect swap for the time I offer with these readings. So thank you to those of you that take the time to do that. I really appreciate you guys so much. Thank you for tuning in. Thanks for all your beautiful comments and your likes. Thanks for subscribing, and I will see you next time. Lots of love. Bye-bye.